the hidden reason why your plans keep failing. Alright, let's dive deep into something we've all experienced: failure. You've got your plans, your goals, your vision for the future, and yet, for some reason, again and again, you find yourself falling short. It's frustrating, isn't it? You work hard, you plan carefully, and still, things don't go the way you imagined. But what if I told you that the reason your plans keep failing isn't just about bad luck, poor execution, or external circumstances? What if the real reason goes much deeper? Today, we're going to explore the hidden reason why your plans keep failing, drawing on some profound philosophical insights. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see your failures in a completely different light. Let's start with a fundamental truth: we live in a world of uncertainty. No matter how carefully we plan, no matter how much we try to control the outcome, the future is always unpredictable. This is something philosophers like Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche wrestled with centuries ago. Kierkegaard, for instance, talked about the leap of faith that's required in life. According to him, no matter how much we analyze or strategize, there's always a gap between what we know and what we can't know. And crossing that gap requires a leap into the unknown. But here's the problem: most of us don't want to make that leap. We want certainty. We want to know that our plans will work out exactly as we envision them. So, what do? We cling to our plans as if they're guarantees, as if by sheer force of will we can bend the future to our desires. And that's the first hidden reason why your plans keep failing. You're trying to force certainty in an uncertain world. Let's think about this for a second. How often do we set ourselves up for failure by expecting the future to unfold in a linear, predictable way? We create these rigid plans, and when life inevitably throws a curveball, we're left floundering, wondering what went wrong. But here's the truth: the world doesn't work that way. The philosopher Heraclitus famously said, "You cannot step into the same river twice." Why? Because the river is constantly flowing, constantly changing, just like life. The moment you think you've got everything figured out, life shifts and your rigid plan becomes obsolete. So, here's a deep question for you: are your plans failing because you're trying to impose certainty on something that's inherently uncertain? What would happen if you accepted the unpredictability of life and built your plans around that uncertainty rather than trying to fight against it?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Now, let's take this idea further. Another hidden reason your plans keep failing has to do with your relationship to control. Think about the last time something didn't go according to plan. How did you react? Chances are, you felt frustrated, maybe even powerless. And that's because most of us are conditioned to believe that control equals success. We think that if we can just control all the variables, if we can just make sure everything goes according to plan, then we'll succeed. But here's the philosophical twist: control is an illusion. This isn't just some abstract concept, it's a fact of life. No matter how much you try to control your environment, your circumstances, or even other people, there's always going to be something beyond your grasp. And when you base your plans on the assumption that you can control everything, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. This is something the Stoic philosophers, like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, understood deeply. They taught that the only thing we truly control is ourselves, our reactions, our mindset, our choices. Everything else, that's out of our hands. So, here's another deep question: what are you trying to control that's beyond your power? How much of your frustration and failure comes from trying to control things that you simply can't? The Stoics would say that the key to success isn't controlling the uncontrollable, it's learning to adapt. It's about focusing on what you can control: your own actions, your own mindset, and letting go of the rest. Now, this brings us to the final hidden reason your plans keep failing. You're too attached to a specific outcome. This is a big one. We all know what it feels like to be so fixated on a particular result that we lose sight of everything else. We get tunnel vision. We say, I need this to happen exactly this way, or else it's all been a waste. But this kind of attachment can be incredibly self-sabotaging. Why? Because life rarely unfolds exactly the way we want it to. And if we're so attached to one specific outcome, we're going to miss opportunities, alternatives, and paths that might lead to something even better. The philosopher Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, had a beautiful way of putting this. He said, by letting go, it all gets done now. This doesn't mean we stop trying or stop caring. It means we stop forcing. We stop clinging to one particular result and start allowing life to unfold in ways we couldn't have predicted. So, here's the final question for this part. What would happen if you let go of your attachment to a specific outcome? How might your plans change if you allowed for flexibility, if you let life surprise you? How flexibility over force, how letting go can lead you to unexpected success. All right. So we've already established that one of the hidden reasons your plans keep failing is because you're trying to impose certainty on an uncertain world, clinging to control, and attaching yourself too tightly to specific outcomes. But what if I told you that letting go, embracing flexibility rather than force, could actually lead you to success, often in ways you never expected? Let's start with this idea: life is fluid, not fixed. Think of life as a river, not a straight, predictable road. It twists, turns, swells, and sometimes overflows. When we try to force our plans into a rigid framework, we're essentially trying to build a dam in that river. And you know what happens when you try to block a powerful current? Eventually it breaks through, often with destructive force. But what if, instead of building a dam, you learn to flow with the river? This is where flexibility comes in. Flexibility doesn't mean you abandon your goals or give up when things get tough. It means you adapt, you adjust your course where necessary, you're open to change. And sometimes, the most profound successes come when you let go of your obsession with a specific, pre-planned route and allow yourself to explore unexpected paths. Let's take a real-world example. Think about the most successful people you know, whether they're entrepreneurs, artists, or athletes. Sure, they had goals. But if you dig deeper, you'll probably find that their journey wasn't a straight line. They faced setbacks, detours, and surprises along the way. The difference is, they didn't cling to a rigid plan. Instead, they adapted to what life threw at them, and in many cases, their flexibility led them to outcomes far better than what they originally envisioned. This reminds me of something Bruce Lee once said: be water. My friend, he was talking about the importance of flexibility, about how water takes the shape of whatever container it's in, how it can flow or crash, depending on the situation. When you approach your plans with this kind of flexibility, you're not giving up control, you're learning how to work with life instead of against it. So, here's a deep question for you. How flexible are you when things don't go according to plan? Do you get frustrated and double down, trying to force things to work? Or do you allow yourself to adapt, to pivot, to discover new ways forward? Flexibility isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the ability to stay committed to your goal while remaining open to new possibilities. Now, let's explore why this flexibility is so crucial. When we're rigid, when we insist that things must go exactly as we planned, we're operating out of fear. We're afraid that if things don't go the way we envisioned, we'll fail, or worse, we'll lose our sense of control over our lives. But here's the paradox: the more you try to control everything, the more you actually lose control. By trying to force life into a narrow box, you limit your own potential. You cut yourself off from opportunities that might be far better than what you initially imagined. This is something that the philosopher Alan Watts talked about extensively. He argued that our need for control actually creates more suffering than the uncertainty itself. According to Watts, life is inherently unpredictable, and the more we try to impose control, the more we miss out on the beauty of the unexpected. He said, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. So, how do we join the dance of life? How do we cultivate flexibility while still staying committed to our goals? The answer lies in detachment. Now, I know that might sound counterintuitive. After all, aren't we supposed to be passionate about our goals? Yes, absolutely. But there's a difference between commitment and attachment. Commitment means you're dedicated to your vision, but you're open to how it unfolds. Attachment, on the other hand, means you're rigidly fixated on one specific outcome to the point where any deviation feels like failure. The key to success is learning to be committed but not attached. When you're committed, you work hard, you stay focused, and you keep moving forward. But when you're not attached, you allow yourself to explore new opportunities as they arise. You understand that success might come in a form you didn't expect, and you're open to that possibility. Here's another deep question to reflect on. Are you committed to your goals, or are you attached to a specific outcome? How might your life change if you let go of that attachment and embraced flexibility instead? In the end, flexibility isn't about being passive. It's about being adaptable, resilient, and open to the flow of life. When you stop forcing things and start allowing life to unfold, while still staying committed to your vision, you create space for unexpected success. The power of detachment while letting go of control unlocks your full potential. All right, let's get into the real heart of the matter: detachment. Now, I know we've touched on this idea already, but it's so important that we need to dive deeper. Detachment isn't just a nice-to-have mindset, it's the key to unlocking your full potential. And paradoxically, it's the very thing that allows your plans to succeed in ways you may never have imagined. Let me explain. When we're deeply attached to a specific outcome, we're not just focused, we're shackled. Our vision becomes narrow, and we lose the ability to recognize opportunities that don't fit within our predefined expectations. Think of it like this: if you're staring at a single door, waiting for it to open, you might completely miss the window that's wide open next to you. Why? Because your attachment has blinded you to other possibilities. Here's where detachment becomes powerful. It frees you from tunnel vision. It allows you to stay committed to your path, but without the anxiety of needing everything to go exactly as you planned. And when you let go of that obsessive need for control, you start seeing the world differently. You notice opportunities that you would have missed otherwise. You become more creative, more adaptable, and here's the kicker: more effective in achieving your goals. This concept is deeply rooted in ancient philosophies, particularly in Eastern thought. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the most important texts in Hindu philosophy, teaches the idea of karma yoga, or the path of selfless action. In it, Krishna tells the warrior Arjuna, you have a right to perform your duties, but not to the fruits of your actions. In other words, do the work, stay committed, but let go of the obsession with the result. The moment you detach from the outcome, you free yourself to act without fear, without hesitation, and without the paralysis that comes from worrying whether things will go your way. But let's bring this back to something more practical. Think about the last time you were so attached to a goal that it consumed you. Maybe it was a job interview, a relationship, or a project you were working on. You wanted it so badly that the thought of it not working out filled you with dread. What happened? Chances are, the pressure you put on yourself actually hindered your performance. Maybe you overthought your answers in that interview. Maybe you were so focused on how things should go that you missed a better way forward. This is the trap of attachment. It narrows your vision and creates unnecessary stress. Here's a deep question for you. What could you achieve if you let go of your need for control? How much more could you accomplish if you stopped obsessing over the outcome and focused purely on the process? This doesn't mean you stop caring. On the contrary, it means you care deeply about what you're doing, but you trust that the right results will follow even if they don't look exactly like what you had in mind. A detachment allows you to be fully present in the moment. You're no longer weighed down by the future or the fear of failure. Instead, you're free to give your best effort without the suffocating pressure of needing a specific outcome. Take the example of some of the greatest innovators, people like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. Yes, they had grand visions, but they were also masters of detachment. They didn't cling to one rigid idea of success. They adapted, pivoted, and allowed their vision to evolve as they learned and encountered new obstacles. That's why they were able to achieve things that seemed impossible. They weren't trapped by their initial expectations. So, here's what I want you to consider. What would your life look like if you practiced detachment? How much more creative, more resilient, and more successful would you be if you stopped trying to control every aspect of your journey and instead focused on mastering the process? In the end, the power of detachment lies in the fact that it gives you freedom to act boldly, to take risks, and to pursue your goals without fear of failure. And that freedom is what ultimately unlocks your full potential. Embracing uncertainty, how the unknown is the path to growth and success. Now, let's talk about something most of us instinctively avoid: uncertainty. It's uncomfortable, it's unpredictable, it's scary. But here's the profound truth that I want you to take away from this video: the unknown is where growth happens. In fact, the very reason your plans might be failing is because you're resisting uncertainty, trying to avoid it at all costs. But what if instead of resisting it, you embraced it? Let's take a step back. Why is uncertainty so terrifying? If we're honest, it's because uncertainty makes us feel vulnerable. We want to know what's going to happen. We want to be able to predict outcomes, control the future, and ensure success. But here's the thing: certainty is an illusion. Nothing in life is guaranteed. And the more we cling to the illusion of certainty, the more we limit ourselves. We stay in our comfort zones, we avoid risks, and we end up missing out on the very experiences that would lead to our greatest growth. This is where embracing uncertainty becomes not just a coping mechanism, but a superpower. When you step into the unknown, you open yourself up to possibilities you never could have imagined. Suddenly, you're not just following a rigid plan, you're exploring new paths, discovering new opportunities, and growing in ways that you never would have if you had stuck to your original script. Think about it: when was the last time you truly grew as a person? Was it during a time when everything went according to plan? Or was it during a moment of uncertainty when things didn't go the way you expected, and you were forced to adapt, to think differently, to evolve? Chances are, your greatest growth moments have come from times of discomfort and unpredictability. This brings us to a key insight from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who famously said, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." What does that mean? It means that creativity, success, and growth come from embracing the chaos, the uncertainty within us and around us. If you want to achieve something extraordinary, You have to be willing to step into the unknown, to take risks, and to let go of the need for everything to make sense all the time. But how do you actually embrace uncertainty in your life? It starts with changing your mindset. Instead of seeing uncertainty as something to fear, start seeing it as an opportunity, a space where new possibilities are born. When you face the unknown, instead of asking, "What if this goes wrong?" ask yourself, "What if this leads to something even better than I imagined?" This simple shift in perspective can change everything. Here's a deep question for you. What areas of your life are you avoiding because of uncertainty? What dreams, projects, or personal goals are you putting off because you're afraid of what might happen if you take the leap? And more importantly, how much are you missing out on by staying in your comfort zone? The truth is, uncertainty is the breeding ground for success. The greatest innovations, discoveries, and personal transformations all come from stepping into the unknown. When you stop trying to control every detail and start embracing the journey, you begin to see that uncertainty is not your enemy, it's your greatest ally. Take, for example, some of history's greatest achievers. People like Thomas Edison, who famously failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Do you think he succeeded by sticking to a rigid plan or by avoiding uncertainty? Of course not. He embraced failure, uncertainty, and the unknown, knowing that every step forward, no matter how uncertain, was a necessary part of the process. So here's the final question I'll leave you with. What's one step into the unknown that you can take today? What's one area of your life where you can stop resisting uncertainty and start embracing it as a catalyst for growth? In the end, it's uncertainty that makes life interesting. It's where the magic happens, where we grow, and where we find success in ways we never could have predicted. So, the next time you're faced with the unknown, remember the path to growth and success isn't about avoiding uncertainty, it's about embracing it. Thank you for watching, and remember, the unknown isn't something to fear, it's something to explore.